Hi, science students. So today we are going to go over the refraction notes. You can see that up on the board right now. I do apologize. I don't have a way to kind of minimize that light spot there, but we're going to work through it here. Maybe if I go at a different angle, we can kind of get it out of the way. And talk about two different examples of refraction and what is happening when we see refraction. So if you're looking at your notes, you need to have page 4 open right now. This is the back of page 4 is what we're looking at. And you are going to fill these in kind of as I show you the examples here. Just kind of like we did with the videos, except this is the video that you're going to watch and both of the examples will be in here. So what is refraction? Okay, so what we know about light is that it goes in straight lines unless there is something that causes it to bend. And that is what refraction is. Refraction is the bending of a light wave due to a change in speed when it goes into a new medium. And so we've been talking a lot about mediums. Mediums is just whatever the wave is traveling through. And so when water travels through when light travels through a clear medium, like water or glass or air, it travels at those different mediums at different speeds depending on the density of that medium, right? We know that glass is going to be more dense than air because it's a solid instead of a gas. Water is going to be probably somewhere in the middle because it's a liquid. And so we'll learn more about density, but really what you need to know is these different mediums, a new medium is going to cause a change in the speed in the light, or if it does cause a change in the speed in the light, then we're going to see the light start to bend and change directions because of that change in speed. So refraction is the bending of light. So what you need to know about refraction, it is when light bends, and the reason the light is bending is because it's changing its speed. So there's some details here that are helpful. It talks about if it bends, it's because there's a different speed in a different medium. Again, it has to change mediums in some way. So if we go from light to water, air to water, or glass to air, or anything like that where we have a new transparent medium. The other thing that's important to remember, because this will come up in some of the labs that we do, the bigger the difference in speed that the light is passing through or that is changing, the bigger the light will bend. So the more the light will bend. So if glass has a bigger difference in speed than air, and air and water have a closer speed, it will bend less through air and water than it will through air and glass because the bigger change in speed causes more bending. Okay, so we're going to look at an example here. You've probably seen this before in your life. The beaker and the straw, or you might have done it with a pencil. But if we look at this really quickly, okay, and you will be able to look at this in person too if you need to see it better. But when you look at where the straw enters the water here, you can see that the straw looks bent. A lot of people say that it almost looks bigger. It looks like the straw is not matching up. I would say at different angles, you kind of see different things, but you can see here that the light is bending because we know that straw is not broken, but the straw looks like it's not lining up right now and looks distorted. And that is because of the refraction that's happening when the light wave is going through the water versus when it's going through the air. Okay, so that's what we have there. We're going to kind of draw this out on the board here. And this is what you're going to add into your notes, what we're drawing here. So I'm going to get you a little bit closer. So it's asking us to draw a picture of the beaker and label where light is bending. Draw arrows to label the two different transparent mediums that the light is passing through. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and draw our beaker here. We have our water, we have our straw, and like I said, what we kind of saw was the straw is not lining up as it goes into the water, so it almost looks bigger and it looks broken. So that's my interpretation of it. If you want to draw something that looks a little bit different, that's fine. We know that the refraction is happening here because that's where we clearly see the bending of light. So our refraction is when we see that straw go into the water. I know that's hard to see, so I labeled the refraction right here. And then the two transparent mediums, we kind of have three here because we also have the glass, but we know that the change in medium is us looking at the air versus the water. So our transparent mediums are the air to water. Okay, again, the glass could be a factor here too, but we know that the straw specifically is going from air to water. So that is the change in transparent medium that we have, and that is causing the light to bend and us to see a distorted image, which is refraction. So that light is bending and making the straw look different, okay? Now I've got another demo for you, and this is actually showing if the speed doesn't change, what happens. So if you look at the one down here, we're going to look at a disappearing test tube, and we want to ask ourselves, is the light bending? Now what I have here is I have a glass beaker. I've got some vegetable oil in it. I also have another glass test tube, and there's also vegetable oil in this. So vegetable oil is definitely thicker or like more dense than water, and so it definitely has a closer speed to the glass. And so we know that the bending of light is caused by a change in speed. So if there is no change in speed, the light is not going to bend. So I'm going to show you really quickly if I put all of these together and we look straight through. So hopefully you can see the test tube there. All right, so I know at some angles you can kind of see, but if you look at the top of the test tube and then look in the oil there, you essentially see the edges of the test tube disappear. I'm going to move my hand so you can see it a little bit better, if I can. There we go. Okay, so you see the test tube go in, and when I go to the edges, you can kind of see the edges sneaking out, but you can see that the test tube... Oh, it's so hard to do things on video sometimes. The test tube kind of disappears, or definitely doesn't have the same boundaries as it goes into our vegetable oil there. And in theory, what's happening is the light will not bend if it's traveling all at the same speed. So if the light is able to travel through the vegetable oil and the glass all at the same speed, then our test tube disappears because it doesn't bend when it hits the boundary of the test tube. All right, so we're going to draw that right now. And this is just emphasizing the point of refraction of we must have two different things. We must have a transparent medium, a new transparent medium, and that transparent medium needs to change the speed of the light. So if we draw this here, okay, there's my beaker, there's my vegetable oil, there's my test tube with the vegetable oil in it. And we could see the test tube and the vegetable oil just fine, but when we put it in here, it kind of disappeared. So we know the test tube is there because we know how objects work, right? I kind of did a little dotted line here to show that's where the test tube should be, but we did not see it there because if there is no light bending, if there's no change in speed. So in theory here, what's happening is the light is going through all at the same speed, even though there's new transparent mediums, and so there's no light bending here. So light does not change speed. Which means no speed change means no bending. And that is why we don't see the edges of the test tube anymore, is because the speed doesn't change to bounce off of those and show us where those boundaries of the test tube are. So you need two different, and we do have two different mediums here, right? Our transparent mediums, just to be clear, are the vegetable oil and the glass. But if they don't change speeds between those transparent mediums, then there's going to be no refraction. So refraction occurs when there's a change in transparent medium and a change in speed. We have to have both. And refraction itself is when light bends. So a lot of times we see refraction from distorted objects or from the light traveling in a different direction in some way, shape, or form as it goes through a transparent object. It's a little bit different than reflection, where the light will bounce off and come right back. It's going to travel at a different direction when it goes through the transparent object. And that's what you need to know about refraction.